Okay, we will continue from Revelation. Let's read those three verses again. Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 to 3.
Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal on him, so that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were finished. But after these things, he must be released for a little while.
Thank you. We looked last two classes, we saw the premises that the people who believe that 1,000 years is not a literal 1,000 years. Why do they believe so? What are the premises? And we saw that they are not valid. And we saw in the Old Testament that the Old Testament also tells us about a period of earthly reign for the coming Messiah. And we saw how 1 Corinthians 15 also has the possibility of Christ's reign on this earth before the end came. So now we come to chapter 20 directly. And here is a picture of an angel. This is the fourth vision in this series of 7. From the fourth vision, it's a picture of an angel coming down from heaven. As I had mentioned earlier, there is a mistaken understanding among God's people that Satan is the opposite of God. He is the adversary and the enemy, that is true. But when we say some opposite, we have an equivalent opposite weight and power. That is completely wrong. Satan does not have equal power of God anywhere near, because we see here only an angel, one angel, an ordinary angel coming down from heaven and laying hold of the devil. So when we talk about serpent or devil or Satan, we must realize that he is a created being. He is a spirit being, yet he is only a creation. He is limited in his powers. So this angel is holding a key in the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit, the word used is abyssos. It is a place described as a prison for spirits. Can you read verse 7? Revelation 20 verse 7, which says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So here is a description of a prison. What is a prison? Prison is a place of confinement. Prison is a place where your movements are restricted. You cannot go beyond the cell or beyond the boundary of the prison. You are confined to a particular place. Your movements are severely restricted. You cannot have interaction with others while you are in that prison. So this place, the abyss or the bottomless pit is translated here, is a place where spirits are kept, or the evil spirits are kept. Now, in order to understand this better, what kind of place is this? The New Testament, there is an incident that happened in the time when Jesus was on this earth. And I would like you to just go there and just take a look at that. We will get a better understanding. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8. And verse 26 to 34. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, verses 26 to 34.
Then they sailed to the country of the Gadarenes, which is opposite Galilee. And when he stepped out of the land, there met him a certain man from the city who had demons for a long time. And he wore no clothes, nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out, fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for it had often seized him, and he was kept under guard, bound with chains and shackles. And he broke the bonds and driven by the demons into the wilderness. Jesus asked him, saying, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," because many demons had entered him, and they begged him that he would not command them to go into the abyss. Now a herd of many swine was feeding there on the mountain, so they begged him that he would permit them to enter them. He permitted them. Then the demons went out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep place into the lake and drowned. When those who fed them saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country.
Okay, here is a interesting incident. The Lord said in verse 22, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." He had this man in mind, this man who was possessed by the devil or the evil ones in the country of Gadarenes. And the Lord wanted to rescue that man, to drive out the demons. So when he came into that place, what he saw was this man who was devils a long time, no clothes. He didn't live in any house, but he lived in the sepulchres. And he cried out when he saw, he was not talking, but the devil that was within him was talking. And they recognized the Son of Man, and they beseeched him, "Torment me not." And Jesus asked, "What is your name?" So this devil is speaking now, and he's saying legion, because many devils have entered. There were many. It's a legion. A Roman legion is around 6,000 big groups. So many of them were there. And they besought them that he would not command them to go out into the deep. Now this word in deep is abyss. So here, if you notice carefully, that they are requesting Jesus not to send them to abyss. Why? Because That place is number one because of, you see, Jesus, they are requesting Jesus, thou Son of God, I beseech thee, torment. There are two requests. One is, please don't torment us. How can Jesus torment them? Number two, do not send us to the abyss, because they understood that once they are sent to the abyss, which is a prison, it is a place of torment, and it will restrict them before their time. Before their time. In the other parallel place in Mark's Gospel, have you come to torment us before time? That means they also understood that in a later time, they are going to be sent to abyss. They are going to be tormented, but the time has not come. So that means now they are not in abyss, right? That's what it means. At this particular moment, they are talking to Jesus. They are not in the abyss, but a time will come that they knew that they will be tormented. They will be sent into the abyss. So what is the alternative? So they request, third request. The third request was that he would suffer them to enter into the many swine that was feeding on the mountain. So that means they wanted Jesus' permission. They knew that Jesus will not permit them, the Lord will not permit them to continue in this man, but now he needed his permission to go into the swine. All right, so Jesus said, go. So here is some of the things that we learned. One is, this place that he's going to send them is a place of torment. Second, it takes their influence away from this earth. Third, once you're sent there, you cannot come back. Fourth, you need Jesus' permission to leave and enter into anyone here and to move. Their movements can be directed or restricted by what the Lord said. So that he suffered and he left them. So this is what we understand about this place, abyss. Okay, one other example also. In Revelation chapter 9, if we come to Revelation chapter 9, and verse 1 to 3, verses 1 to 3. Revelation chapter 9, verses 1 to 3.
Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like a smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, and as the scorpions of the earth as power.
Okay, so what do we read here? Star, often referring to an intelligent creature and an angel of the bottomless pit. Fall from heaven to earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and though there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth. So that means that door of the abyss was opened, and there came out unusual creatures, demonic creatures that could wreak havoc on the earth. So what do we understand from this? That means till the time that the door is open, these demonic creatures had no influence on earth. They could not do anything on this earth. So the moment that abyss was opened, then we see their influence started. So with this understanding, when we come to chapter 20 of Revelation, we see the opposite of what we saw in chapter 9. Here is an angel who's coming down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Now, we know that we are using figurative language. But when we are explaining, or when the Bible is trying to explain the unseen world reality, okay, this is it's a common understanding. When we are using, when visions are shown with respect to unseen world reality, like that of a spirit and a spirit prison, we have to explain using common language, which corresponds to a reality. Now, there are two types of reality. One is a reality of the physical world, which is real, which is very real. Like we have chairs and tables and buildings and prisons and chains and so on. They are real. But there are also spiritual realities of the things that we cannot see, or spiritual nature, like God, like Satan, like heaven, hell, abyss, Hades. All those are spiritual realities which cannot be empirically verifiable using physical measurement tools. Okay, so these are realities which we understand because it is revealed to us. Now, if I say, okay, let us go for an expedition to heaven, we can't. Let us go and see where the abyss is. Is it a place on earth? No. It is a spirit prison where spirits are confined. But then when we try to explain that particular place, we need to use earthly language. Now, an example I will tell you. When Isaiah is trying to write about the greatness of God, the words that he's trying to use is God who said, heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. Now, the concept of God cannot be quantified using any words or language, but he is using mere human understanding of a throne, right? Okay, throne is a place where kings sit, and we know how big a throne is, right? The biggest king of this earth can only having a throne so much, we can imagine. But if you want to say God as a king, imagine the throne so big as the heaven. In a heaven, you say everything that is above, everything, the whole universe, the whole cosmos cannot contain him. And heaven is the chair that is going to be sitting. Then what about the place that he rests his leg? He doesn't have a leg, but just trying to explain how great and how big God is, when he's trying to stretch his leg, which is the place, footstool. What's a stool? Footstool, a place where we keep our leg. Said, earth is your footstool. So you see, Isaiah is trying to explain the greatness and the magnificence of God using earthly language. But that earthly language pointed to a reality. That's what I am trying to tell. That earthly language pointed to a reality. So even though metaphorical language is used, or figurative language is used with respect to the chain and the key and so on, a reality is involved here. What is the reality involved? The reality involved is that this place is a real place. Okay, number one. Second, this place, as we saw in Luke 8, is a place of torment. Number three, that place, once you are confined into that place, you cannot have activity elsewhere. So these three important aspects we have to understand when we talk about abyss. Though it is a spirit prison, it is not a physical prison that we see with bars and chains and all that. It is a place where your movement is restricted and you cannot come out once you're shut in it. And Revelation chapter 9, till it is opened, you are restricted at that place. Okay, so that's something that I want to just say in the beginning about the abyss. Second thing, he says he laid hold on the dragon. That means he caught the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, when big criminals are caught and their photos are published in the newspapers, under them, all their alias names are written, because these people, they were deceivers. They appear in different places in different names. So they say so and so, alias so and so, alias so and so. Why? Because under all names, people should recognize him. If he had taken this name, he will mention that. And every other name that he has taken will be mentioned. I told you before that all these names that he had taken upon himself, they had very significant meanings, which I had explained to you before. Satan means adversary, or devil means slanderer, dragon is a destructive creature, old serpent reminds us of how he deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden. So he's just telling you, look, this is the same person who deceived Eve. This is the same person who is your adversary. This is the same person who was slandering you in the presence of God day and night. Same person. Okay, don't get the mistaken identity. Don't take him for someone else. He's the same person from the beginning, right? The old serpent, right from the there, right? Referring to the deception that happened in the Garden of Eden. That's the same person. He is the one now, the prisoner's identity. Now, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, binding, of course, is symbolic of the fact that he cannot move. If you look for these words like bound, etc., in the New Testament, you see here is a picture of a person who is arrested and bound him 1,000 years. Now, if you count number of times 1,000 years are used, you will see that in verse 2, verse 3, verse 4, verse 5, verse 6. 6 times in this passage, this word 1,000 years is used. Now, I gave you an exercise yesterday. I don't know how many of you have done that, but those of you who have done that, I thank God. Now, when we come to numbers in prophecy, let me share my screen. When we study the fulfilled prophecies of the Bible, you will see there are many instances in which prophetic time period is mentioned. Okay, let me share my screen. Able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Now look at this. On the left-hand side, Sarah, the angel coming to Sarah, Abraham and Sarah, telling the next year you will give birth to a baby, a son. What was the time period? 1 year. You can find out the reference for yourself. Okay, 1 year. Did it happen literally? Yes. Look at this another example. Your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land. How many years? 400 years. Did it happen literally? Yes. Dream of a butler and baker in the Pharaoh's in Pharaoh's butler and baker, and Joseph is trying to interpret. They were confused. They saw the dream, and Joseph was able to interpret, and the time limit given was 3 days. And did that happen literally? Dream of Pharaoh. In fact, again, Pharaoh knew the dream but did not know the meaning. Here again, the interpretation came. There were figurative language used in that because corns were used, 7 corns and 7 cows, which you can give any meaning to. But the 7 remain 7. The interpretation came that cows means years, corns also means years, but 7 is 7, literal 7. Even when figurative language was used, the literal time period mentioned in that prophetic dream was fulfilled literally. What about wandering in the wilderness? 40 years, literal. David's sin of sins, God said 3 days, 3 days, yes. Elijah, the lack of rain, 3 years and 3 literal years. Elijah foretelling Shunammite bearing a son, next year, this time you will have a son. Yes, of course, the same thing. Samuel predicting next day, tomorrow you will be with me. Yes, that happened. Hezekiah's life extended 15 literal years. Isaiah was sent back to Hezekiah to tell him that your life is extended for 15 years and that captivity of Babylon 70 years. Messiah will be cut off 63 weak years. We know that historically that exactly happened. Prophetic concerning, Isaiah 23:15, 70 years destruction of Tyre was prophesied. So look at all these places. You will see that all this prophetic utterances where time period like year or day or weeks or months mentioned there all happened literally. Then how can we take that this 1,000 years does not mean literal 1,000 years? I fail to understand. I fail to recognize how children of God, people of God who are so should be adherent to the word of God, can deviate from the word of God and go and explain and say, oh, 1,000 years does not mean 1,000 years. It's a long period of time. Now, if God wanted to use long period of time, he could have used his language, because here to explain a little time, even here a little season, right? He loosed a little season in end of verse 3. There are many words which could have used to explain a long period or a short period or whatever period that God wanted to say. He could have said in that way. If it is an indefinite period. Why he had to use this very precise time of 1,000 years means that always refers to 1,000 years. Another thing that they say is this is very surprising, which means that the binding of Satan that we see in verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. So what is the picture that we are getting? Satan is arrested and he is thrown into this abyss, bottomless pit again, abyss, and shut him up. That means his door is closed, and not only the door is closed, a seal is kept on that door. And the reason also is mentioned here, that he should not deceive the nations no more. He should not deceive the nations. That means this is a very clear reason mentioned here that right now, Satan is deceiving the nations. Right? How do we know? How do we know? Revelation, if you come to chapter 12, we have studied that passage. Revelation chapter 12. Verses 7 to 10.
And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old, called the devil and the Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Then I
Okay,
heard.
well, that's enough. What did we read here? See, here we are talking about the incident that is happening in the 70th week. So the description of the great dragon, who was the old serpent called devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. That means till that time, he was deceiving the whole world. That means now the current time that we are living in, he is continuously deceiving the world. Today, what is happening in the world is nothing but there's deception going out in great way. So how can the Amellinus say that he is not deceiving? Because the very reason mentioned there is that he should not deceive the nation no more. Now they try to explain that Satan is free to do other activities, but his restriction is with respect to what we read in verse 8, that he will not be able to deceive the nation so that they will be stirred to come for the Gog-Magog war till the end. Now this is very strange, because if God wanted to restrict devil from a particular activity, he need not do all these things. He did not take a chain and bind him and put him in the abyss and shut him up and put a seal upon him. No, he need not do that. Let's take some examples. Let's look at some examples. Yeah. Look at the time of Job. He says, have you made a fence around him and his house, Satan says, and all that he has on every side? So that means as long as God takes off his hand, Satan, as God waited, Satan could not do anything. That means God had to give him permission to do anything. Second thing that we see in that conversation is that, behold, all that is in your power, only do not reach out and put your hand on him. Satan could not touch Job because God did not give him verbal permission. That's all. So he could have just restricted them and said, no, don't do that. Do not touch him. And Satan did not. Behold, he is in your power, only spare his life. Don't touch his life. Again, that's that final thing is that prevented Satan from killing Job. He could touch his body, but he could not take his life. See, again, a verbal restriction. Don't do it, and that's it. Go away, Satan, in that temptation, Jesus said. Then the devil left him. You see that? Only a verbal instruction was necessary to restrict him. There is no need to put him in the abyss. There is no need to seal him. There is no need to do anything. Just a verbal, Bible also tells us, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. Right? So he is restraining Satan from an activity. It is possible to do it just by a verbal restriction. A verbal command was enough. We see that has happened. But what we, again, in the case of Peter, Satan asked me to sift you like a wheat, like a chaff. But I prayed for that, means I did not give him permission. He asked me, can I swift Peter like a wheat? I said, no, not that. And I pleaded. So that restricted him. So it is very clear from these passages that God could restrict, if that was meant, God could restrict devil from further actions by just telling him. But see, I want to just list out to you Satan's present activity. As we see in the Bible, we read in 1 Peter chapter 5:8, he prowls like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. He tells lies, John 8:44. He tempts believers to sin, 1 Corinthians 7:5. He disguises himself as an angel of light. He seeks to deceive the children of God, 2 Corinthians 11:3. Paul talking to the Corinthians there. He snatches the gospel from unbelieving hearts today's activities. He takes advantage of believers, 2 Corinthians 2:11. He influences people to lie, talking about Ananias and Sapphira in Acts chapter 5. He holds unbelievers under his power. Yes, seen throughout the New Testament. He torments the servants of God, talking about the thorn in the flesh in Paul's case. He thwarts the progress of ministry. He destroys the faith of believers. He wages war against the church. He traps and deceives believers, holding them captive to this. So look at this big list of things that he's doing now. How can we say that devil is bound, thrown into the prison, locked by a key, sealed, and do all these activities? Impossible. Impossible. So I want you, brothers and sisters, to be aware of this false doctrine that is infiltrating into God's people these days, which makes them believe that Satan is bound, Satan is in the abyss, he's restricted, he's not deceiving nations. We are falling right into his trap. Do you know why devil is so happy that this kind of doctrine is pervading? Because he can now work behind the scenes. Everyone will think, oh, he's bound. I mean, his activity is restricted. Well, he can work havoc among God's people in the world. So beware. We must be very much aware of the satanic activity and the strategies of the evil one, because he's using wiles of the devil, or the schemes, or he's a schemer, and he traps people into it. He masquerades himself like an angel of light. So we must be very much aware of his deception. Okay, so he is bound and he is thrown into this abyss, and the time period mentioned here is 1,000 years. And at that time, he cannot deceive nations anymore. It is a complete incarceration, cutting off from the world, and he has got no activity during that time. He is not free to roam around this world. He is not free to influence people. He is not free to do anything during the time that the Lord Jesus is going to reign as King of Kings and Lord of Lords in this world. But after that, he must be loosed for a little season. So this 1,000 years that commences the moment that Satan is bound, a lot of other activities also take place. But the first influence, the first thing that John saw in this vision is this vision of Satan being bound and taken to this place and kept there till the 1,000 years are over. Okay. Now, if you look at this time of the reign of Christ, along with his people, right, along with God's people, they are in the resurrected state. They are in the resurrected state. When we think about the resurrection time, resurrected bodies are different from human bodies. And we saw that example in the life of Jesus. If you look at the life of or the body of Jesus, that after he was resurrected from the dead, we could noticeably see certain differences. Though in the actual form could look like human body, but they are resurrected, glorified bodies. What are some of the new things? One is that the resurrected bodies are not bound for decay. Our human body, even though we don't notice visibly, it is decaying day by day, going down, right? We are getting older means our cells are breaking down and we are, our prime has been passed, and so we degrade. But there is no degradation for a spiritual body. There's no degradation. It's the first thing that you will notice. The second thing you notice in the body of Jesus was that body need not. It could eat. He ate when they came back in the night. He could eat with them, but it is not necessary. Right? It's not necessary to have food and drink and all that to sustain the life of that body. He could eat, that is what we saw, but you need not. You need not. So you need not eat or drink to sustain that body. Third thing, you need not obey the rules of this physical world in order to move around. When the door was closed, you remember? When disciples were afraid of the Jews and the door was closed, the Lord Jesus came in. He did not have to open the door and knock at the door and to come in. He could just walk in. He could just come in. That same principle is also seen in ascension. He need not ask for a rocket to go up. While they were looking, he ascended up to heaven. So that means the laws of gravity did not apply to him, to that body. It's and then he could disappear at will. In that Emmaus walk, suddenly he disappeared from their sight. So it's possible to appear at will and disappear at will. So these are some of the things, some of the characteristic that happened while the spiritual body was present on this earth. So we have a precedence. We have a precedence. A person with spiritual body could live with people with physical bodies. That was what we saw after the appearance of the resurrection of Jesus 40 days he was with his disciples, teaching them, admonishing them, encouraging them. It's possible. It's possible. So this 1,000 years of reign on earth is also a similar scenario in which people with physical bodies are also there, while resurrected people, God's people, are there along with the first fruit Christ, who already resurrected more than 2,000 years back. They are with him, reigning upon this earth. And we already saw from the Old Testament passages that those great characteristic of this 1,000 years. First is Satan will not be free to work. That means the satanic influence is wiped away, right? Then according to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 3 to 5, this is during a time where righteousness will flourish. Today we bow our heads in shame of what is happening in many parts of the world. Why? Because it is unrighteousness that is flourishing. It is falsehood that is flourishing. Lies that are flourishing. But that time, righteousness will flourish. Third thing that I would like to say is peace will not be a local phenomenon. It will be a universal phenomenon. Everywhere. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, it's a description of the time of this end days, of this eschatological millennial reign, where peace will be a byword throughout the universe. Will be universal. Number 4, Isaiah 35, verse 1 to 2 talks about there is a productivity. Today, there's one of the after effects of the fall was the curse given to Adam, that the world will not bring its produce as early, right? It is cursed because of you. And it's not going to give you the output that you are looking at. Today we are seeing that farmers are working hard, but they're not getting the desired output. They're getting some results, but they're not getting the desired output. And compounding to that, selfishness and adding all chemicals and all that has created more of an issue. But at that time, the productivity of the earth will be greatly increased. Will be greatly increased. 35, verse 1 and 2. Isaiah 35, 1 and 2. Quickly, if you can read that.
The
The
wilderness,
will-
dry land, the wilderness and the dry land shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. And the glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, the excellence of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord and the excellency of our God.
Wonderful. That will be the kind of the kind of productivity. Even the deserts will bloom during that time. Nature will have a perfect harmony during that time. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6, 7, and 8. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6, 7, and 8.
The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, the calf and the young lion and the fatlings together, and the little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like ox. The nursing child shall play by the cobra's hole, and the weaned child shall put his hand in the viper's den.
Also, verse 9.
They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, and as the waters covers the sea.
Okay, this is one other great thing that is going to happen during that time, that the earth will be filled with the knowledge of God. Today, how much of difficulty we have in telling people about God, about Jesus, about who He is. But at that time, you know how the waters cover the sea? It's complete, right? There is no place which is not covered by water if you go into the sea. Just like the waters covers the sea, the whole world will be filled with the knowledge of God. If you come to the book of Zechariah, you know, in the tabernacle only, there is only one place it is written, holiness unto the Lord, upon that mitre, upon this forehead of the high priest. But that time, he symbolically mentioned that every place, everything will be made holy in that city. And even the horses' bells, right? They'll be holy. Every instrument, it will be written the holiness to God. The knowledge of the glory of God will be completely covering this whole world. My friends, are we ready for that kind of a life? Are we getting prepared to come to that golden age where Christ will be reigning and his people shall reign with him 1,000 years? Verse 6 talks about his people, those who are taking part in the first resurrection. They will be reigning with Christ 1,000 years. We will be the people who will be co-regents with Christ. And when we are going to reign with Christ, isn't it a great hope? Why do we have to look for places and positions and privileges of this world? If someone is not caring for you, what does it matter? If someone is making fun of you, what does it matter? Someone is not giving you due respect, what does it matter? Going to reign with him. But the Bible says, if you suffer with him, you will reign with him. We'll continue our study. We will look into the riches of this 1,000 years reign on this very earth, where among those nations, God will honor his people. Those who suffered for Christ's sake, those who are humiliated for Christ's sake, they'll be greatly honored in that time. Even in this earth, even in this place where we are living, God is going to transform not only the people, but is also transforming the land. The productivity will be increased. He will transform the wild animals. He will make a change in their behavior. Rather than with animosity, they will deal differently. Whole earth will be filled with the glory of God. May the good Lord help us as we live in the reality of this today, praising God and getting ready for his coming, and also preparing others for these great events that are going to happen in the future. God bless.